You're not a good person, at least not in the way you would like to think. Well, this is a harsh truth, and most of us avoid it. Why? Because it means digging deeper than our actions. It means questioning the real reasons behind what we do, not just how things appear on the surface. We cling to the idea that our kindness is genuine, that our obedience signals morality, and that our choices reflect integrity. But what if all of this, your virtues, your sense of right and wrong, is nothing more than fear in a well-tailored suit? Fear of punishment, fear of rejection, fear of slipping into chaos. What if you're just a pawn in someone else's game? Keep watching and thinking, because by the end, you won't just question the world, you'll question yourself. Most people live tangled in an invisible web, caught in a game so subtle that its strings are nearly impossible to see or feel. Every decision you make, every pause before speaking, every act of compliance, every silent nod, it's a move on a board you never chose to enter. This game is real, and its rules are brutal and unforgiving. Ask yourself, are you truly free? Or are you just well-trained, conditioned by a lifetime of social signals to behave in ways that serve others' agendas? Conditioned to stay in line, to blend into the crowd rather than stand apart? Throughout history, some of the most ruthless leaders understood this game in all its darkness. They knew that power was never won by kindness alone. It was won by mastering fear, deception, and cold, strategic self-interest. Their playbook was written in shadows and whispers, secrets passed down through ages. Today, that same playbook is still in use, shaping our world quietly but relentlessly. From the hidden corridors of political power to the sprawling social networks that shape our opinions and beliefs, this game continues, silent, merciless, and unyielding. Niccolò Machiavelli is often misunderstood as the patron saint of tyranny and cruelty, a villain who celebrated evil for its own sake. But this is a simplistic view. Machiavelli was a ruthless realist, a keen observer who exposed the hidden mechanics of control that govern human affairs. He didn't glorify malice. He revealed a cold truth that most avoid facing. Power belongs to those who understand its dark art and wield it skillfully. Those who cling to naive ideals, who ignore the brutal realities beneath the surface, will always be pawns, manipulated, controlled, and played by others who understand the rules. This realization isn't meant to lead to despair, but to awakening. It is a call to see the invisible strings, to understand the game you are in. Because until you learn these rules, until you recognize the forces shaping your choices and beliefs, you will never truly be free. You will live as a tool for others' ambitions, a shadow moving in the background of someone else's drama. The harsh truth is this: your supposed goodness may not be as pure as you think. It may be fear dressed up in virtue that keeps you obedient and compliant. Understanding this doesn't mean surrendering to disbelief. Instead, it offers a path to clarity, a way to reclaim your agency and play your own game. But first, you must stop lying to yourself about who you are and why you do what you do. Only then can you begin to move from being a pawn to becoming a player. If you're still here, you're not average. Comment, "Still watching," and hit like if this is hitting somewhere deep. Let's keep going. Look back to Renaissance Italy, a time where betrayal and strategy were not exceptions, but the rule. Machiavelli's Florence was a chessboard where rulers moved their pawns with cold calculation. The blood and politics of that era might seem distant, but the game hasn't changed, only the costumes have. Today, the battlefield is the corporate boardroom, the halls of government, the endless scroll of social media. Power games still play out in every corner, invisible yet unforgiving. Modern structures reward conformity and punish independence. Corporate hierarchies promote those who follow orders unquestioningly. Political propaganda manipulates masses with carefully crafted narratives that mask true intentions. Social validation systems, likes, shares, followers, serve as a new currency, controlling behavior under the guise of acceptance. Behind all of this are invisible hands, moving people like pawns, shaping decisions they barely understand. The unsettling truth is this: you are still a pawn, caught in a game crafted centuries ago. Unless you learn the rules of this game, unless you see through the illusions and deceptions, you will always be played by them. This isn't paranoia, it's psychology. Understanding Machiavelli's insights means understanding the world as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. And only then can you begin to choose your moves with intention rather than reaction. From the moment you're born, a subtle script is written into your mind, a silent guide teaching you how to survive by seeking approval, following authority, and fearing rejection. It starts in childhood, where a nod of approval can mean safety, and a harsh word can fracture your sense of self. Over time, this conditioning becomes second nature, an invisible leash shaping your decisions long before you realize it. You learn to measure yourself not by who you truly are, but by how well you fit into the expectations others set for you. Consider the chilling experiments that reveal just how easily we surrender our autonomy. In Stanley Milgram's obedience study, ordinary people were willing to deliver what they thought were painful electric shocks to strangers simply because an authority figure told them to. The cost of disobedience seemed too high, and so they obeyed, blindly without question. Then there's Solomon Asch's conformity test, where people knowingly gave wrong answers just to align with the group. The need to belong, to avoid standing out, overpowered their own judgment. These aren't just isolated findings. They are blueprints of human behavior, echoing through generations. Think about the times you stayed silent in a conversation, afraid to speak your truth because it might cause conflict. Recall moments you nodded along, agreeing with ideas you didn't believe, just to avoid being the odd one out. Reflect on ambitions you chased not out of passion, but because they were expected, because approval was the currency you desperately sought. These small betrayals of yourself accumulate, crafting a prison made of social fears and conditioned reflexes. This conditioning extends far beyond personal relationships. The media saturates every moment with subtle messages about what's acceptable, desirable, and normal. Social hierarchies, whether in schools, workplaces, or online, reward conformity and punish dissent. Even family structures traditionally seen as a place of unconditional love often reinforce these rules. Be polite, don't rock the boat, keep up appearances. The constant pressure to be good traps people in roles not of their own choosing. The terrifying truth is that this conditioning leaves most people vulnerable, defenseless against manipulation. When your sense of self is tied to external approval, you become an easy target for those who understand these dynamics. Propaganda, advertising, political rhetoric, all exploit this deep human craving to belong and be accepted. The more you seek to fit in, the more you risk losing yourself. It leads to one unavoidable conclusion: if you don't set your own values, someone else will set them for you. Without internal standards, without a clear compass rooted in your own self-respect and understanding, you become a plaything in someone else's game, a pawn moved by invisible hands. The choice is yours: to remain lost in the crowd or to break free and define what it means to be truly free. To truly understand the game we're all trapped in, you need to meet the master strategist who defined its rules centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli. Often painted as the ruthless villain of history, Machiavelli was neither a monster nor a hero. He was a realist who saw the raw, unfiltered nature of power for what it is: a brutal, strategic dance where survival depends on knowing the game better than anyone else. To be a player, in his terms, means to live by your own rules, to wield your understanding of human nature like a scalpel, and to control the image you project with ruthless precision. Being a player isn't about playing dirty for the sake of cruelty. It's about survival in a world designed to consume the naive and reward the cunning. Machiavelli's The Prince isn't just a manual for tyrants. It's a mirror reflecting timeless truths about power dynamics. One of his core lessons is the importance of maintaining appearances. Power is as much about perception as it is about reality. The prince must appear merciful, loyal, and trustworthy, even if underneath he harbors the opposite. You too know this instinctively. How often have you sized someone up by their image before questioning what it hides? Strategic cruelty is another cornerstone. Machiavelli argued that occasional harshness, when deployed wisely, secures long-term stability. Look closely at your life. Which loyalties, habits, or beliefs were inherited simply because they kept you safe, accepted, or comfortable? How many choices were made to avoid conflict or gain approval rather than out of genuine self-respect? Ask yourself honestly, where have you betrayed yourself just to be liked? These moments of quiet compromise accumulate, shaping a version of you that is more pawn than player. But awareness alone isn't enough. To truly reclaim power, you must adopt strategic detachment, learning the rules of the game without letting them consume you. This means understanding manipulation, social pressures, and the psychological tactics wielded by others, but refusing to be enslaved by them. It's about moving through the world with eyes wide open, recognizing the currents beneath the surface, and choosing your course with intent rather than instinct. This is not a call to dominate or control others. Real power is subtler. It lies in being unplayable, in refusing to give others the leverage they seek, in holding your ground without aggression, and in embodying a confidence so primal it disarms manipulation before it starts. You become the player who shapes the game, not the pawn moved by invisible hands. In a world designed to train obedience and conformity, choosing moral sovereignty is a rebellion, a reclaiming of self that demands courage and clarity. It is the only path to freedom that truly matters. Because when you stop seeking permission and start setting your own rules, you don't just survive, you become unstoppable. When you look into the mirror, what do you really see staring back at you? Is it someone who commands their own destiny, who moves boldly through the invisible game that governs our lives? Or is it someone quietly reciting lines from a script written by forces far beyond their control, a pawn trapped in an endless cycle of obedience and fear? This reflection is far more than skin deep. It exposes the silent, invisible battle raging inside each of us. A war between surrender and sovereignty, between being led and leading, between losing yourself and reclaiming your essence. Human nature carries an unwritten ancient law. We are not drawn to loudness, aggression, or force. Instead, we instinctively gravitate towards certainty, the deep, primal energy that flows from genuine self-respect. When someone stands with quiet authority, they don't need to shout, threaten, or prove themselves. Their presence alone alters the behavior of everyone around them. It's a subtle power, more ancient and potent than words, a magnetic certainty that commands respect without ever demanding it. This kind of inner authority is invisible, yet unmistakable. It is not rooted in arrogance, dominance, or the desire to control others. Rather, it emerges from an unshakable trust in oneself, a refusal to be bent by every external pressure or social expectation. Those who carry this strength no longer wait for permission, approval, or validation from others. They have learned to play the game on their own terms, to rewrite the rules in real time, and to move through life with intentionality rather than reaction. To embody this is to understand a fundamental truth. The world belongs to those who no longer ask for permission. Those who comprehend that power is not something given, it is something taken. It is claimed quietly, relentlessly, and without apology. Power does not come from titles, money, or brute force alone. It arises from a deep mastery of self and situation. Those who lack this awareness become tools, actors in a drama directed by others, puppets dancing on strings pulled by invisible hands. The harsh reality is that most people live without this awareness, trapped in cycles of submission, playing roles scripted by societal norms, propaganda, and inherited fears. They confuse compliance with virtue, obedience with morality, and fear with freedom. They carry invisible shackles, chained by the need to be liked, to fit in, to avoid conflict or pain. But each act of compliance chips away at the soul's autonomy, making the individual weaker, more vulnerable to manipulation. Becoming the player, the one who owns their life's narrative, requires more than courage. It demands a radical honesty with oneself. It means auditing your loyalties, habits, and beliefs, asking the uncomfortable questions. Which of these were adopted because you truly believed in them, and which were inherited as survival mechanisms, tools to avoid rejection or punishment? Where have you betrayed yourself to be liked? Where have you sacrificed your deepest truths for social approval? This process is neither easy nor comfortable. It forces you to confront shadows, to challenge illusions, and to break free from the comforting lies that mask your true condition. Yet it is only by facing this inner turmoil that you can cultivate true moral sovereignty, setting personal, non-negotiable values independent of external validation. This sovereignty is your strongest shield against the subtle manipulations of power structures that seek to make you a pawn. Strategic detachment is crucial. Knowing the rules of the game doesn't mean you must be consumed by them. Instead, it means observing with clarity, learning how power operates, and choosing when to engage and when to step back. True power lies not in domination or cruelty, but in being unplayable, untouchable by fear, immune to coercion, and fully autonomous. Remember, self-respect and inner authority aren't just abstract ideals. They are forces that ripple outwards, shaping relationships, social dynamics, and even larger cultural movements. People sense when you carry this energy. It changes how they treat you, often without them realizing why. It is the silent signal that you are not just surviving the game, you are mastering it. The mirror never lies. When you face your reflection with brutal honesty, you decide who you will be, the player or the pawn. The world waits for those who will stop asking for permission and start claiming their power. The choice is yours. Be the player or be used. So now the question's yours to answer. Are you playing the game, or are you quietly following a script you never chose? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation matters. If this hit something real for you, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden forces shaping our lives, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. In a world built on illusion, awareness is your first weapon.